Hi everybody, my name's Andrew and today I'm driving a 2019 Ram 1500. For those that haven't seen, this is my latest vehicle. It's what replaced my BMW 330 wagon. And today I'm going to give you guys an in-depth walk around of it, talk about what it's been like to live with for the last few months. And for those of you that follow this for a while, you know that I don't tend to review my own cars until I'm ready to get rid of them. So we'll talk about that later too. As usual, we'll start off with the exterior. This particular truck, like I said, is a 2019. It is the new body style, current body style, not the classic, and it's finished in Delmonico red. Now, I was looking for one particularly in this color because I think it's just a really stunning color, honestly, even though I'm not normally a fan of red. And personally, I probably would have preferred one with the sport appearance package that gives you the, paint match bumper and whatnot. But I think the chrome is still a nice look. It is, of course, a bighorn trim level, hence the black mirrors, but it is a fairly nicely optioned bighorn. You have the LED headlights, the 20-inch wheels, etc. There's more stuff on the inside that we'll get to later. Styling-wise, of course, there is only so much you can do with the basic design and construction of a truck, but personally, I think the current gen Ram is the best looking truck on the market right now. In the right configuration, I am also partial to the new Tundra, but this is still my favorite. This particular one, as you can tell by the badge on the hood, giant chrome badge, is the 5.7 liter V8, because I was not about to buy a 6-cylinder truck. Now I know that Toyota and Ford do make some decent 6-cylinders now, but still, it's not really my thing. And of course it is 4-wheel drive as well. Around back you'll find LED taillights with amber signals, which I do quite like, although they're kind of pointless because the turn signals and the brake lights are the same piece, but it's still neat. You also find the giant Ram badge, but personally I prefer this style to the actual Ram lettering that you get on some trims. And since this is a lower trim truck, you do not have the barn door tailgate, which I'm actually fine with because you get a goofy looking line down the back and I don't really like that. Tailgate is dampened, which is nice, and you can see all my crap in there. It does have a bed liner, although it's just a drop-in bed liner, and it does have a tonneau cover. I went into this hating these tonneau covers, but it's grown on me a bit. You can still roll it out of the way, of course, and use the whole bed, but personally, I just like being able to keep shit back here and not have to worry about it getting wet or, taken or flying out. Two standing complaints that I do have back here, though. Number one, there's not really any kind of step. GM integrates a step into the bumper there, and Ford puts one in the top of the tailgate. But you can use this little piece right here, but it's not very big, and it's still kind of high off the ground. So that's not great. You can get, on the higher trim levels, a retractable step that comes out from the bottom of the bumper, but that's still not as good of a solution, in my opinion, as some other brands. Another thing that I hate that I've actually kind of fixed is these lights up here are not LED from the factory. This is a fairly common cost-cutting thing, and as you can see, I've put LED bulbs in them, but still, that cost me what, 20 bucks? Come on, Chrysler. And while we're back here, actually, this is not a complaint, but I just thought about this. You may have noticed my amazing sticker right here. That's from my friend Tyler, Boring Cars on Instagram. If you want one, go check him out. This is what the key looks like. It says Ram on the back. It's got some nice silver accents, and it does have some weight to it as well, minus all my other stuff, which is kind of nice. No remote tailgate release on the Bighorn, but I honestly don't mind that. I don't really am not in that many situations where I need it. Remote start, on the other hand, I do love. Come on. And I will miss whenever I don't have another American-made vehicle. Slightly annoying thing here, you do actually have to push the unlock button to get in. The Bighorn does not have comfort access or full keyless entry, so that is a little bit annoying, but most of the time I still just leave the key in my pocket and, you know, hit the button in my pocket. Climbing inside here, you do still have push button start though, which is a little bit odd. And since my key battery is a little bit low, I have to close the door to start it for whatever reason. And you know, you're gonna hear my radar detector and my dash cam firing up in the background, so sorry about that. This is a Bighorn Level 2 truck. So it does have some nice options in here. You got heated seats, heated steering wheel, the sort of medium-sized screen, bigger screen in the gauge cluster. You've got power adjustable pedals down here. And overall, this is a pretty nice interior. Even though it doesn't have leather, you have to step up to a Laramie to get leather. I'm not disappointed about it. It's really nice cloth, actually. In fact, in a continuity fail, I'm gonna get back out and show you the cloth. As you can see, it's got some white stitching here on the sides, and the steering wheel is still nice leather. Armrests are nice and squishy. So overall, it's still a nice place to be. In my opinion, the current Ram has the best interior in this class, mainly on the higher trims, although I still think it holds true in most ways for the lower trims. It does get beaten out in terms of technology now by the new Tundra, but that's just the way it goes. You know, the latest, newest design is always going to be the best in that way. Speaking of technology in here, I mentioned before that this is sort of the medium screen option for this truck. The base trim has one that's about half this size, and the higher trims you can get one that's about double this size and, you know, vertically oriented there. Personally, I like this one because I like having all these easily accessible knobs and dials and buttons here for all the climate controls and whatnot. You don't lose them completely when you get the bigger screen, but it does change the layout, and personally, I just like this one the best. Speaking of buttons and things, these buttons right here are super clicky and super nice feeling. In fact, I mean, the dials do feel nice too, but they don't have a ton of weight to them. I also like the dial shifter, which some people do not. And your four-wheel drive controls are right here as well, which is nice and convenient. Overall, like I said before, this is a pretty nice interior. There are still some harder plastics throughout. This part right here is pretty cheap, although it does look nice with the silver. But that's to be expected. This is not a Longhorn, a Limited, TRX, you know, whatever. And that's okay. It's, for the money, it's still pretty nice. I have to say, one thing that I really like about having a truck is just all the storage space in here. Like, you've got 2 glove boxes, right? You've got giant door bins. You've got this multi-layered giant center console. In fact, this thing slides and there's space in between there too. There's at least 1 million cup holders in here. Not that I'm using all of them, but I just have to say, from the 330 wagon that I had before, this is a giant difference in terms of storage space, and something I will miss when I do inevitably end up getting a smaller vehicle again. Continuing the theme of space and storage, let's hop into the back seat now. Again, don't mind all my crap everywhere. This particular truck has the Ram bins underneath the floor here. There's one on each side. You can see this one's got ratchet straps and stuff in it. And that is a big thing I like, because it's just one more closed storage space. And I think there's actually a drain plug in the bottom of them as well. Hopping into the back seat, you have a shit ton of room back here. That's obviously the professional term for that. You have more rear leg room in the back seat of this truck than you do in the standard wheelbase Mercedes S-Class. which sounds impressive until you realize that pretty much all crew cab full-size trucks these days have more space in the back than an S-Class. But that said, the Ram is still on the bigger side of the segment. And since this is a lower trim truck, it's not massively well appointed back here. You do have air vents, but you don't have any charge ports. You do again have plenty of cup holders though, which is nice. But overall, it's a comfy seat. You've got plenty of space, so if I were back here on a road trip or something, I wouldn't be complaining. On the higher trims, you can get a panoramic sunroof, but honestly, I don't really use my sunroof that much anyway when I do have one, so whatever. You do also have the power sliding rear window, which is nice, and when you have the windows down, you can crack that a little bit just to prevent wind noise since you don't have a sunroof. Ram does not give you any kind of seat back storage pockets like you get in the GM trucks, although I guess the Ram bins are sort of the alternative to that anyway. The seat bottoms do still fold up in a 60-40 split, which again is pretty standard, but it is a nice thing to have if you want to carry larger items. Normally on my walk-around videos, I would do my MPG test loop if I was filming locally, but we all know what gas prices are like right now, so probably not going to happen. That said, I have been averaging about 16 on a daily basis, and the 2 longer highway trips that I've done, I got about 20, which is not great, obviously, but it's not bad for a giant V8. And we are still going to go for a drive here in a minute and talk about what it's like to drive this truck as well as what it's been like to live with. So let's go ahead and get on the road and do that. All right, driving the Ram 1500. Normally, I would wait and start my piece to camera once I'm already moving instead of while turning out of an incredibly sketchy driveway, but it just made me think of something that I wanted to talk about. There are other vehicles that are like this, other trucks mainly, but the wipers in this car are not on the right. They're on the turn signal stalk on the end. And like I said, there are other trucks mainly that have that, and the lights are, down on the dashboard, which is standard. But, I've been driving for, almost 6 years at this point, and it's a difficult habit to get out of, that the wipers are not there. Anyway, so what is this thing like to drive? Well, it drives like a truck, unsurprisingly. The 5.7 liter Hemi V8 puts out 395 horsepower and 410 foot-pounds of torque. I think the official 0 to 60 is like 6.1 or 6.2. So it's not incredibly slow. Certainly not as slow as it would be with the Pentastar V6. I can only imagine. But obviously not fast either. I must say that the Ram, even without the air suspension, is one of the best riding trucks that I've ever been in. The new Tundra is pretty close. Honestly, the new Tundra and this are fairly even, I think, in that regard, but it obviously still rides like a truck somewhat, but it rides more similarly to an SUV or to a car than some other trucks I've been in, mainly the F-150s. Anyway, speaking of, it's not a sports car, obviously, but I mentioned before that I may be getting rid of this thing soon, and that's mostly because I kind of miss having a fun car every day. I bought this truck for a purpose, okay? It's partially related to where I was just filming before, which is on my family's property, but the more I think about it, I do miss, having a daily driver that I can just chuck around corners. This thing isn't super slow, obviously, but, still, I'm on a curvy road right now, and I would be enjoying it much more in the BMW, or really anything that's not a truck. So, it's kind of one of those things like, that meme of like, you know, buys a big heavy truck, expects it to be a sports car, and then acts all shocked when it's not a sports car. But I mean, not really, because I knew that it wasn't going to be a very good handling vehicle, and I thought I was going to be okay with that. But ultimately, you know, I don't really need to be driving this thing every day. Another thing, of course, is the fuel economy. I mean, like I mentioned before, I've been averaging 16 on a daily basis, which is not bad for a truck. It's not bad for a V8, but it is still 16 mpg. So, you know, I spend about $400 a month, give or take, on gas, and I just don't really think there's much point in doing that just to drive to and from work every day. You know, I do use this for truck stuff. It has been incredibly useful for towing things and hauling things, you know, moving branches on the property, moving wood, moving furniture, mulch, you know, whatever else. But I really think I would be better off with some sort of fun daily driver again, maybe a hot hatch or something like that, and then probably also buying some kind of cheap beater truck to use for truck stuff. So I think that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. In fact, I just drove a Veloster N and a Golf R yesterday as I'm filming this, and I have a lot of thoughts about those, but that's not what this video is about. So, I don't know. It is a very nice driving truck, though. It's comfortable. The seat's comfortable. The seat, I mean, it feels like I'm sitting on a couch. The driving position's pretty good. It's got power adjustable pedals, so there's some adjustability there, which is always good. It's got a good level of technology, and it's a really good daily driver overall. Don't get me wrong, minus the fuel economy and the fact that it barely fits in a parking space. But is it the right daily driver for me? I don't think so. So, oh well. With that said, I think I'm actually going to wrap this video up here because there's really not anything else that I want to say about this truck. I'm going to do a whole nother video before I get rid of it about, you know, a few things that I really love about it and hate about it, in the typical, you know, 5 things I hate about my whatever style. And I may do sort of an ownership wrap up with all the costs and everything like I've done before, but for today, I think this is where I'm going to wrap it up. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you found it informative, you know, give it a thumbs up, and stay tuned for what's coming next, because that may be sooner than expected. And consider subscribing as well, because I have way more views than subscribers at this point, which I think is kind of funny. But anyway, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.